And howdy, folks. Welcome, one and all, to another wonderful episode of Javi Unboxed. And very shortly, our special guest will be joining us. Let's see. And let me just scroll through the comments and say good evening to everybody. And so, good evening, Mike. Good to see you. And Gary, welcome. Jason, welcome. John N. And of course, Troy is with us as always. So is Dave Kraus. Did I say Greg already? Well, Greg Euler's here. Paul Stewart and Dennis Mills. Good evening, one and all. And tonight we're going to be talking a little bit about scroll sawing and basically scroll sawing and interacting with CNC. Let me welcome my sidekick and cohort over here, Mr. Russ.
How you doing, everybody? Hello, John. How y'all doing?
And welcome, Bobby. Good to see you. Good to see you. And Mr. Deering is on his way in. He should be here shortly, and we're just gonna have a nice little casual chat about everybody. Some people get into woodworking through up. In fact, here is Mr. Deering right now. Welcome, Charles. Welcome. How's it going?
Howdy do. If I can figure out what the camera is, I'll be like,
there it is.
There you go.
don't do much. That's my thing, man.
Right in front of you. I should have worn my Trump hat. Oh well.
Yeah, buddy.
Well, anyway,
time no see, fellas.
Yep. Welcome. So, as I was saying to our little audience here, some people sometimes they get into woodworking through one avenue or another. Some people get in through building cabinets, table saw. Some do some arts and crafts and whittling. Others, oddly enough, join at the CNC level where they're doing, kind of robotic things, and that's all they like to do. And then there's turning, there's scrolling, there is all different types. And what people sometimes enter one venue and they stick with one venue, and they don't realize there's a whole world that works beautifully and together. I mean, I for one enjoy knowledge of all types. I'm sure you all do as well, because I know from all your works, you've definitely and welcome Hitch, by the way. I'm just following along here in the chat with people. You can see in the inside chat. I don't know if you've ever worked with StreamYard before, Charles, but there's a comments on the inside chat, and it shows both the YouTube and the Facebook gang.
Yes, sir. I use StreamYard as well. I just can't see that
Sweet.
far away.
Okay, yeah, I hear you. I set up in the other place. I set up but it's just awkward for me to shift my head up to the wall. I actually set up an LCD projector against the wall where I have everything huge. I still haven't used it for a show, but I'm looking forward to one day soon.
I want to get closer to read them, but I don't want to be right up in the camera.
That's what we got Russ for. We're good. So basically, we're all we all basically do all different types of woodworking. I know you guys have done hodgepodge. I mean, you're mostly scroll work. But
yes, sir.
Likewise, I mean, scroll work is not just scroll work either. You have to be a painter. You have to embellish your scroll work. You can't just say, "Oh, look at this!" It's a see-through piece and you're done. It's a little bit more than that. You got to stain. You got to sand. You got to just CNC. It's not programming a machine as many people do. You got to do a heck of a lot more. But give us your insight onto and your joy of scrolling. And for those of you, and I'm sorry, for those of you who don't know Charles, and I'm sure you probably all do, maybe not, but he is not only is he a scroller, but he creates on practically a daily basis. he creates scroll saw patterns, which will let you plug your store in a little bit. He creates scroll saw patterns, and for those of us CNCers out there, they're not just for scroll saw. Any one of these single patterns can be converted into a V-carve and actually create, and there you go. Woodenvisions.com is the website. Charles, I'm sorry. Oh, go ahead, please.
No, I was going to say, you're doing most of it for me. I'm just doing a bunch of pointing and gestures, but I'm better at answering questions than giving the gist of it. If I'm not that, I don't mean to give you more work. You talked about, besides just scrolling, I'm a wannabe comedian. Sometimes I think that's what keeps people in the live streams, because they wait for me to lose it, laughing or trying to be funny.
Yep.
But
oh, I hear you. I got a soldering with hobby show that I think people go in it just to hear me rant every now and then about something or other, because somebody will say something and I'll just get on a crazy rant and people go, him again.
Raise your hand if y'all thought I was going to sleep through this show. Just saying. Yeah, was I late getting in here?
No, you're right on time.
Right on time.
So by the way, Mike W4FEJ, fellow ham radio guy, says Charles can't be all bad if he drinks Dr. Pepper. So that's your drink of choice.
I'm addicted.
Yep, it's a beautiful thing. So tell us, what got you into scroll sawing in the beginning, in the before time?
Well, I'm happy to say it was a bad marriage. I needed a hobby. I needed a hobby, not a hobby. No offense, hobby.
No, you don't. I would be. You wouldn't be on this show if you had to go from a bad marriage to a hobby.
What got me into it, besides the bad marriage, I really had no hobbies besides drawing every now and then, and I somehow in the mail I got at the time it was considered junk mail, but it was a scroll saw pattern catalog, and I had never heard of a scroll saw prior to this. This was in 1997, and I looked into it and I thought that was kind of cool. So I, since I didn't have a scroll saw yet, I used a jigsaw, did a 4-foot tall tiger's head. Just learned the premise that was you're cutting from within the piece instead of from the outside like you would with a bandsaw. And from there, just me trying to get better. And as far as the designing aspect, as because no disrespect to the designers of that era, I just didn't like the lack of detail in pieces, and I've always been a stickler for detail, and that's what got started the designing. But besides that junk mail catalog, I just saved up for my scroll saw, which I think it was a Delta 4 something. It was
those numbers are crazy.
Old dinosaur. It was 48, 450 or some kind of something or other. But I was a dinosaur since then. But it's mainly a passion trying to get better at it. And
absolutely. Now, for those of you who haven't visited his page, definitely go out there. I mean, you're going to be stuck there for. I mean, it's indeed a huge rabbit hole. He's got some plans in there. I'm particularly fond of a train pattern, which is so incredibly intricate. I mean, that's the last thing you want to do if you're a beginning scroll sawer. But but on the other hand, if you're into CNC and you've got a large enough machine, because that, like I said, that detail gets pretty darn small. If you've got it dialed in and tuned in, then I highly recommend those patterns. Start with. I would definitely do them V-carve. Although I've been thinking about creating a CNC scroll saw machine just for.
I'll be your guinea pig. Just saying.
Yeah.
I will admit, whether it's CNCers or scroll sawyers, my designs can be intimidating unless your goal is realism or uber detail. Some people say that's too much detail, and that's the case for some art. But if you're into realism and your CNC can do it, then that's my goal. I like to challenge myself, so that's part of it.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and everything is a challenge. Now let me ask you something, Charles, because I was trying to come up with. I can come up off the top of my head with a simple idea like, V-carve the title on a scroll saw piece. But how else could you think of any ideas of how to incorporate not just CNC your patterns, but incorporate the two woodworking styles into some finished piece? And I know Russ will have something to say about it in a second.
I do.
Well, right offhand, I'm thinking of a title plate. What you would like? Some people will do a painting and they'll give it a title, like Evening at Mom and Dad's or whatever. That's totally random.
Yeah, like a brass plate, like engravings. Mm-hmm.
That or directly on the wood, embellishing a box, or if you're doing like that's my impression of a deer. That's his antlers. You could put texture on the antlers, little things like that. If there's not enough detail, you could add texture to make that detail. I'm guessing. I don't know a whole lot about CNC.
No, absolutely. And let me stop and say hello to a few more that have entered in. Hoosier Mike is the only one that's popped in. Welcome. And Russ, you had something interesting that you were telling me before the show that you did for a client, which tell us about it.
I did. A friend of mine, her son had passed away, and she wanted an urn for him, and she looked online and she saw all these beautiful urns and the prices that were sky high, and she couldn't afford them. So she come to me and told me what she wanted, and she wanted a cowboy theme. And so I incorporated the CNC and the scroll saw, and I made her an urn out of cherry, and I put a cowboy theme. I don't have a picture of it. I looked everywhere, and since I don't have the piece, I don't have a stinking picture of it nowhere. But I'll try to paint a picture for you. It was just a rectangular box, probably about 12 inches tall and about 16 inches wide, roughly. And what I did was to give her what she asked for. I made the box, and then for the scroll saw, I carved out horseshoes and put them on either end of it. And I took a plate of cherry up, and I carved into that with the CNC. I carved a pattern that I'd gotten, and it was a cowboy setting, and it was a cowboy and his toddler son, and they were kind of walking off into the sunset. I V-carved that into that, and I set that on top of the piece. So the piece actually had two tops, and it was open from the bottom, so it was nothing ever going to be taken from that top. And it was phenomenal when the Danish oil went on, and then the clear coat went on. When that dried, that was a phenomenal piece. And believe me, she had me in tears when she saw it, because she loved it so much. It was beautiful. It was a perfect rendition of something that shows a hybrid of using multiple pieces of equipment. In one piece.
Now, Hobby, if you don't mind me interrupting, I think other than those of us that somewhat rely on the income from selling pieces, I think the reaction he's talking about is another reason why we do it, because you kind of start thinking, I'm getting a little burned out, but then somebody is in tears because they're so pleased with the project. To me, that kind of
absolutely. And here's my here's another segue I have. Let's see how good it is. Speaking of cowboys,
there we go.
Speaking of cowboys, I know that Charles does, or used to at least, but does a lot. He's very big on the obviously being from Texas, does a lot of does a lot of the Dallas Cowboys, and we've talked about it in the past, Charles, how sometimes it's a lot of what you want to do, and that's great for woodworkers. But if you're wanting to make money at it, I
haven't figured that part out yet.
You have to lay a little off what I mean, most of us will lay a little off what we want to do and sell to what the public wants, And if you find that you sell, and you've told me this before, you find you sell, you have a client or two or more that are really crazy about the Cowboys. So you just continue to make Cowboys pictures and stuff. Whereas me, I have no interest in the Dallas Cowboys. And I was thinking to myself, why would he make Cowboys
Talk
pictures?
to the hand.
but well, the thing is, I don't have no interest in sports whatsoever, so I'm an equal opportunity offender.
Need you to turn in your man card there, Javi.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Now, woodworking's my man card. That's it.
You got me on that one.
But yep, and so yeah,
Well,
it's
as an example of Charles's patterns being scroll saw compatible and also CNC compatible. His Harley Quinn, when he was designing that pattern, when he starts with the eyes.
Yep.
If I remember right,
I agree. I agree with Hitch. By the way, appreciation is better than money.
Absolutely.
Charles's pattern of
unless you're broke.
Of Harley Quinn, when he did the eyes, I told him, you can stop there as far as I'm concerned, because I fell in love with the pattern just from him doing her eyes.
Yep.
And Mark Lindsay got that pattern from him and carved it with the CNC.
Yep.
And it's perfect. I've got several patterns of his modeled that I could do with the CNC.
Oh,
but I just haven't done them. But I have them modeled where I could do them.
And that's one thing that's one thing that I will say for all of you beginning CNCers out there, because I know there are quite a few out there. Good evening, Herb. How are you? For those of you beginning CNCers, if you start and your first piece is not crisp and clean like you imagine it, there's a few things that this is not often said, and it should be said more often. Don't get discouraged, because there's a lot has to do with one thing that happened to me personally as a beginning CNCer. Let me switch to this view here. One thing that happened to me as a beginning CNCer when I first did my first piece is I didn't realize that the machine, since I thought, just program it and it'll go and everything, I'm used to the hand feel of a router. And I'm sure you guys, I mean, obviously I know for a fact that you guys with the scrolling, you don't just push it at the same speed. You feel the resistance. You get a feel for each different type of wood. You get a feel for each different type of blade, each different direction you're going. It is partly an art, but it's a learned, and you get better with time. Well, with routering, it's in that sense, it's no different. You feel a certain resistance. You can feel when it's about to chatter if you're experienced enough and you slow down. You can't feel any of that when the robot's running your machine. So that's point number one. I will say to people, don't get discouraged and try different speeds.
Well,
but the second,
if I may interrupt, one area where that interjects is hearing a sound. And because I know a CNC will make a certain sound if it's digging in too deep, not deep enough, or the CNC itself. So I'm sorry to interrupt him, but that's another thing. When you're messing with your saw, you'll hear a sound like the temperature's not right and all that crap. But
exactly. The twang of your, you know exactly how far the blade with the. I mean, sound is a big part of all woodworking. And the other thing that I will say to beginning CNCers is, a lot of people, they like, I'm just going to use pine because I'm going to do as cheap as I possibly can. Pine is fine. But pine, for people that like to be on the cheap and use construction pine, you better use a lot of it to get good at it, because it's a wood that splinters. It's a wood that it takes. There are some pieces of wood that I have used, maple, ash, oak, and certain varieties of them only, that just cut like butter, and they're so sweet. And they come out crisp and perfect for the little tiny details. And pine and cypress and some other woods, oh my God, it's like pulling teeth to try to get a good pattern out of it. You'll use 5 boards and they'll each be garbage. So don't get discouraged if the first board you put in there, whatever it is, doesn't turn out as you expected it to.
Well, with things like pine and the other wood you were talking about, do the finer
cypress.
bits on the CNC, cypress, do those finer bits have a tendency to want to follow the grain like it does with a scroll saw blade?
And that's what happens. The grain, if it's not a really, since it's not a tight grain, they'll peel right off.
Yep.
And there are techniques that you learn, like rastering across the grain rather than, and even across the grain, then you get splintering if you don't have a really blade or take shallow cuts. I mean, there are a lot of techniques, and sometimes no matter which way you set the machine, you just cannot get a good cut out of pine. I'm sure it's the same thing with scroll sawing. Some species of plywood, it's just, I don't care how sharp a blade you got and how slow you go, it's gonna just shred, or the layers will peel right off, and then there are some others that may take a little bit more work, and they're hardwoods, but they come out beautifully. I mean, that's the nature of all woodworking.
Yeah.
See if we got any more. Okay, no more comments recently. What are I might have answered it already with the Dallas Cowboys, but what are your favorite, well, probably not. What are your favorite patterns to create lately? Because I know tastes change. So lately.
Well, I can't really say lately because I gave a group of themes for people to vote on the order they wanted me to do, but I can't pick just one.
I want yours, not theirs.
Well, I know, but you said lately, and lately it was theirs.
Okay, yeah, I got you. I got it.
I can't pick just one. I sound biased, but I love certain animals. I love rustic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm laughing because it brings up a whole nother inside story.
Go ahead.
Native American.
Yeah.
I don't have a good answer for you. Just the truth. I love Native American. Anything that shows character or majestic.
Who's your mic says horses.
Yeah, I love horses. I think
I know you love horses. Yep. Horses. I know Steve Nealon is huge on eagles, and eagles are gorgeous, majestic creatures to.
Oh, yeah.
And with any whether it's CNC or scroll sawing or anything, yeah. Eagles 3D eagle models and horses are real big in the CNC community because, I mean, it's wood, it's rustic, and they, if done right, they produce a really nice 3D image to accent whatever piece you're doing.
They sure do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so biased because I tend to design the themes I like unless somebody says, hey, can you design something like this? But I've done virtually every theme, not necessarily as a cutting, but at least as a design. But as far as my favorites, I can't really pick one category. So
how many do you have on your website right now?
Individual patterns, probably a little over 1,500.
Wow. See, that's a lot of patterns to choose from, folks.
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You got any Hitch likes Indy cars. You got any, I'm sure you got a few IndyCar drivers. You got any Indy cars on your list?
Probably got NASCAR.
It figures the one example somebody asked about, I don't think I have any.
Oh, that's funny. But you do have you have I know you have Earnhardt on there, don't you?
Yeah, more as a portrait than I do a car.
Right.
I'm trying to steer somewhat away from copyrighted stuff, and not
right, of course.
But yeah, I don't know if I have any IndyCar ones on there. They're very old and probably not near as good as newer designs. But if we keep thinking of examples, I'll say, I got plenty of those.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. I mean, if anybody asks you to do something, for the most part, and you haven't done it, you'll be doing it the following week. I mean, because
absolutely.
If you like it, I mean, that's a beautiful part about it. And And so again, anybody can go to woodenvisions.com, and I highly suggest you go there and take a look. He's got decent prices on the most complicated of patterns, and they're really handy. And all you got to do is and then while I'm plugging people, I'll plug Mark Lindsay, because he's got a couple of good shows on. Well, so do I, but mine are really old, on bit tracing, so you can easily learn how to transfer the image, because the images that Charles has are just standard JPEG or what is it, what format do you normally use? JPEG or
JPEG, GIF, or PNG.
Yeah, JPEG, GIF, or PNG. So they're raster images, so you can easily transfer them over with the thing. Now let's see. We have a question here. What is your asking your comment? Asking your favorite is kind of like asking what's your favorite. It all depends on the current mood. Yep.
Yeah.
And that's why I said at currently, because because Troy's absolutely right. I mean, there are times when I first started 3 or 4 years ago, when I started getting into chronicling my woodworking. When I started getting into woodworking, and concurrently, whatever, at the same time, one of those big SAT words that I forgot already. It's 1440 on my SAT, and I don't remember jack. Anyway, so.
I remember my SAT.
Well, those were during it's just a few years ago, but I was heavy duty into woodworking, and then a couple years later, and for those of you that have watched my Make Room for Javi videos, woodworking passion turned back into. I mean, I've known construction all my life, but now with the house, I mean, I'm sharing my. Part of my lives with you guys, but basically my 90%, 90% is my family, but other than my family, what's left, 90% of my interest is building that new house, and once I have it and the new shop, it'll all rotate back. Like Troy said, your interests change regularly. That's why I'm always curious to know what people are currently interested in, or what they like.
It sounds like I'm a total subject change, but it's the same reason I don't have any tattoos, because my taste in art changes. So, yeah. I mean, it sounds like a total left field subject change. That's why, because taste changes, and
it's funny you say that. Yeah. It's funny you say that. Other than the fact, I was brought up against. Not against tattoo. Well, yeah, my parents were a little anti-tattoo, and me, I'm a little bit more progressive, but I don't have any either. Personally, and that's one of the main reasons. One of, if not the biggest reason, is because some people like to have their skin as a history book. And more power to them. If I mean, well, that it's fine. It's their skin. They can do whatever they want with it, and I can appreciate the ink and the art, but not for me. I don't want to put something that for one thing is going to stretch into 10 different shapes.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I do have
for another is going to be my taste changed. So I mean, at the drop of a dime, he goes, "What? I can't believe I liked that when I liked the counting when I was in high school.
I do have a pair.
I can't stand the counting.
I have a pair of lips on my butt cheek. If y'all want to check that out right quick, I don't mind. I'll show you right quick.
Yeah. That's all right, buddy. Do you
Yeah.
have any other pieces of
A permanent reminder of a temporary feeling.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of, do you have any, I know I didn't prepare you for this or didn't ask this, but would you happen to have any scroll saw work just, around there that you can show people?
Well,
just out of curiosity.
I do. They just happen to be right here.
Well, that's perfect. By all means.
I'm too lazy to put them back.
Please do.
Look at this, folks.
Well, now I don't have a dark background to hold them up. I'm on a rolling chair, so I'm not having a seizure.
Oh, that's okay. The light does
will do
does a great job. Yeah.
That's a largemouth bass.
Fantastic. Holy cow! Yeah, that's fantastic.
That is gorgeous.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yep, a guy fishing in the background, and yeah, that's fantastic.
If anybody likes fishing, I've done a couple of his fishing patterns and sold them, made some good money on them.
Yeah, I know a lot of you guys. You're like me. You like RVing. You like going out. Well, what's nicer than one of these little patterns, CNC'd on in your camper?
Look at there,
Oh,
Santa Claus.
A simpler design, I guess. But
yep. Good old Santa.
oh yeah, baby. Oh diddly. The one I'm currently working on is 4 feet tall, so it wouldn't fit on the camera anyway. But it's
Troy Pritchard is asking, how long does it take to do something like that?
Ah, there you go.
Look here.
those majestic ones I was talking about. Depends on the design and how motivated I am. And by the way, you can add your signature on your scroll pieces too. Just saying.
Yep. And Troy, I've seen him. Let's see. Russ can probably beat me on this, but I've seen a 4 or 5 hour Charles Deering session, which was only half of a drawing.
Yeah.
So
That's
so I've
seen him do an 11.5 hour one.
Yep, that was what I think that was Spider-Man.
Yeah, I think it was.
And then the one I was talking about, was not even scrolling; it was just the drawing of it.
Oh yeah.
That's sweet.
I like to do large pieces.
Yep.
Oh boy, does he ever!
Oh, it's fantastic. It shows the detail.
It brings
even
that detail
nicer.
out, and
Yeah,
a lot of people can't do them, but my God, them things are beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I only got about 2 more, so we're not going to be here forever.
No problem. Ah, Spiegel.
That's my precious.
Yep.
All right, and here's a Deadpool coming up.
Ah. For those of you Marvel fans out there.
Now this one was designed for the eyes to be cut out of the backer, so this one's 4 feet wide.
Yep.
Sweet.
Okay, and that's all the ones I got over here. Besides the one I'm working on, it's another Deadpool standing up.
Nice. Yeah,
the one you have standing up, that's going to be like 4 foot.
46 1/8 inches tall.
Close to 4 foot.
Yeah, I was going for 4 feet.
You have some more questions there.
Yes. Let's see here. Well, first of all, Troy's saying beautiful work.
Thank you very much.
And John said 11.5 hour marathon one, Daddy.
Yeah. That was a long one.
And he meant one day, not Daddy. I love spell check. That's why I'm laughing. And Charles, what saw are you currently using? He's a CNCer and his wife is a scroller. She has the Excalibur EX30.
That is a dang good saw to have. It's a bigger capacity than what I have. Mine is a Hagner 22-inch scroll saw.
Yep. John said he has a Hagner. Yep.
A lot of no disrespect, but a lot of y'all say Hagner. It's Hegner. Hagner.
Yep.
I don't mean that to sound rude, but say it right.
No. That's what I thought it was. And I'm gonna wave here to Teresa in the background. She's out there telling Russ whatever he's doing wrong. So
yep.
So we all have good marriages like that.
Absolutely. I have other pieces that are out of view here, but they're much more cumbersome and brittle, so I'm afraid to bring them out. But
Yep. Of course.
And I never thank you for having me on the show, by the way. Thank you very much.
Oh no, you're very welcome. Thanks for coming on. I'm trying to ever since Dave Gatton decided to take Saturdays off. He was just too, and I know what he's feeling because it's only been 5-6 shows and I'm already sacrificing time. Well, I was always Dave's second, so it's not much of a sacrifice.
Well,
but
trying to dream up topics makes shows hard too.
That's the hard part. The hard part. I mean, last month it was organizing, and that was an interesting topic. But it'll always be something. Next week, folks, for those of you watching, please shoot me through Facebook, through through email. Let me guys shoot you by email address pictures of work that you've done. It's going to be a show and tell. So I'm going to try to do my best to, and if you can, a little description of. There's my email address on the chat there. I'm going to do a show and tell next week. So anybody, I know some of you have already been sending me pictures. Send me descriptions, send me stories that you want to tell along with the pictures, and I'll be happy to show it. I'm going to try to get on Facebook and try to promote it a little more, because it's always like pulling teeth trying to get pictures, but we'll see what we can do.
If you don't mind me making a request to people, it wouldn't bother me at all to have some subscribers. I know I'm not a CNC guy, but if y'all will consider it, I'd love to have some more subscribers over on my channel. But sorry if I'm
no, not at all, not at all. Go to is it Wooden Visions or Charles Deering, your YouTube channel?
Technically, it's Charles Deering Scroll, but you should be able to see it under Charles. Slay it. I talk funny every now and then. You should be able to see it under Charles Deering. It's just the profile picture is me in the black hat and sunglasses pointing.
Yep.
Thank you.
So you folks just go to Charles Deering's YouTube channel and by all means subscribe. He could use the well, we all can. he could use the subscribers, even though he's got I would say 20 times the amount I do.
Well, they trickle away because not everybody's into the live streams, but I have too much fun doing them. And so
yeah, but it's they're entertaining. So let's see here. What do we got here? What is the material that you've been using?
Most often 1/4 inch maple ply, and usually it's stack cuts. That'd be a total of what, a 1/2 inch of maple ply.
1/2 inch?
Yes, well,
sweet.
1/4 inch.
It's quarter and quarter. Yeah, quarter backing and quarter. Gotcha.
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. Perfect. And well, anyways, again, I like to thank you for the show, because it is very difficult to find topics, and I try to fill up. I mean, I could do a regular chat show, but I do that 3 days a week, and it's I don't want to say boring, but yeah.
My God, if you ever get desperate, I'll be happy to come back.
It's like during the week. Let's see. Let me see if I can. Russ, you've got a. Let me see if I can put the link. Give me a second while I do that. You guys chat amongst yourselves while I'm scanning for Charles's.
Hello. When's the last time you went to woodenvisions.com?
Me, I can't remember when I went to anything.com.
Yeah. But I am running a special. If you buy a pattern, I'll let you buy 5 more. Sorry for the tease.
At the same price.
At the same price, if not more expensive.
That's right.
You're welcome.
There you go.
Most of the fun on my show is when I can't keep the panel behaving, because I always preach the words family friendly, but every now and then one of us will just skate over that line. Some of us will dance right over it.
Yeah.
We try to keep it family friendly. My channel's not set up for kids. But if you have, I get
that all the time. Yeah. I get that all the time. I get that every now and then. I don't get it all the time, but every now and then I get the little 11-year-old insecure kids that just they start shouting crazy words and stuff. Russ is always there to dump them off the channel. I'm always there to report them to YouTube, and they lose their channel. And
well, sadly, most of the crap that
then they cry, and then they never.
Wait a minute now, Charles. What was you saying?
I said most of the stuff on my show that goes off the rails is the panel and myself. The comment section is usually the most behaved, but
usually
we don't do foul language. Every now and then a word will slip out, but I mean, I think the average adult knows it happens. And every now and then innuendos, sometimes innuendos are just waiting to be pointed out. But overall, unless you're a snowflake, you won't get offended on my show. Well, you might. Because I'm not funny to everybody.
John loves answering all your questions before we have a chance to. So it's like, do you have any blade presses? Wait. Let me answer. John says you like spirals.
Number 5, flat-ended spirals by Flying Dutchman.
There you go.
You won't catch him with a straight blade, but one time.
I did it one time on a live stream, and that was scary.
Yep.
Very laughable.
But yeah, it's scroll sawing, and I got to tell you, scroll. I mean, I bought a. Though some of you know, Dave Gatton got a little tired. I mean, his scroll saw was gathering dust. He's got a DeWalt had a DeWalt 788, and he sold it to me. I went by Georgia and picked it up, and uh, and then all of a sudden the hobby boxes came, and I started building CNC controllers. So I haven't had a chance to play with my new toy, but I will get to it when things settle after the building. But I still look forward to it's. Let me ask you this, because I've heard this and I've experienced the bad end of it. I say this story every now and then. I once was at um a joint, a carnival booth with Eloy Escajedo, and he brought his Harbor Freight scroll saw with probably 30 or 40, 20 or 30-year-old rusty blades, dull as dull as I mean, I'm still surprised how well, I'm not going to say anything, but how someone cut his finger, not me, from one of those blades, but Nick, but and I love him to death, close friend. But anyway, we were sitting there, and it was like, oh, I'm pushing, and I'm barely getting any. And now, I did not enjoy that. I did not enjoy that at all. However, I remember when I was young, I used to have a Craftsman with a sharp blade, and it wasn't a particularly great saw. It was the one with the little Dremel attachment on the side, and I did enjoy that. It was balsa wood, so I mean, come on, you can cut balsa wood by breathing on it the wrong way. But
well, once you get good at scroll sawing, the rest of it's patience, in my opinion. But getting good at it.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy. I mean, like, my hobby boxes are therapy for me. I enjoy soldering, and I'm sure that scroll saw is therapy for anybody that's doing scroll saw. It's enjoyable, but my question is there that much of a difference? And I suspect there is, between having a good blade, a good scroll saw, in enjoyment, as having a bad one.
Yes, sir. Some real quick examples. Now, some people, in the end, how good you are at scroll sawing matters, but the cheaper scroll saws tend to vibrate all the heck, and especially if you don't have a stand, but if there's not much weight to it, it'll vibrate, and that'll take the fun out of it. Learning the tension between different machines is a little bit different. So breaking blades takes, and this is a lot of Captain Obvious stuff, but the more problems you have, the less likely you are to want to continue. When I first started scrolling, I couldn't stay on a line to save my life. Thank God I stuck with it. But the cheaper saws aren't made for daily use. I guess the DeWalt is one of the most common middle of the road price and daily use saws, but the cheaper saws don't last as long. And I had 3 more examples, but they all just went away when I wasn't looking. You get what you pay for, and I hate to use those words, but you're more likely to be more patient with learning when it's not the equipment that you're using that's the problem. It's just you learning to do it. But when the equipment's crappy, it doesn't make you want to stick with it.
Yeah, that's the thing that happened to me a couple of times. It's like, so that's why when Dave said, "Are you interested?" I go, "You know what? Yeah, let me go ahead. I'm going to. I want to have a whole collection in my wood shop of all the different tools, and that's a very prominent tool. And even if I use it a few times, I know that there'll be one time where, like anything else, there's you and your Dr. Pepper.
Sorry, I'm under attention.
Diet Coke myself. So I mean, I know that when it comes down to it, like all of us, squirrel. But when that squirrel happens to be scroll sawing, I want to make sure to have a good machine. I want to have and I've used it a few times, oddly enough, to cut out the hobby boxes, because I didn't have at the container. I didn't have up at the property. I was building some a few months ago, and and I didn't happen to have my trim router, which I normally trim the tabs off with it. So I used that instead. And I go, hey, this is fun.
Well, I chuckled a little hard because my live streams are the epitome of squirrel. We don't stay on one topic. But that being said, I always say maturity is not required, but a sense of humor is. But that being said, if somebody asks you questions, we're all right there to answer with all sincerity.
Absolutely.
We all try too hard to outdo each other on humor, and it usually ends up as a train wreck, but it's fun. So if you're into fun, come on by.
Yep. And folks, if you have any questions for Charles, please, we got another 15 minutes of showtime here, so feel free to ask away anything you want to know about scroll sawing, anything you want to know about, just about any topic woodworking wise. I mean, this is Javi Unboxed. Ask any question about anything, and I mean, if it's not perverse, I'll try to answer it.
If it is perverse, I'll answer it. I'm sorry.
There you go.
I'm so sorry.
I fed you that one.
I was looking for the giblets. So
yep, I knew that was coming. But yeah, I'll tell you, it's quite entertaining. I mean, I've seen some fantastic work of combinations of different woodworking genres, methods, methods and techniques. Like, for instance, everybody talks about most CNCers at one time or another have made a paradise box. That's just one of those things that they go, oh, I got to make a paradise box, because it's so easy. You put a piece of wood on the CNC and it makes a really fancy design on four sides, and it cuts out the box. All you got to do is glue it to anything from a simple glue up to something really complicated.
Well, I'm the perfect example of something so easy. I couldn't figure out CNCs to save my life. That's why I gave it up. All I had was the X card, but God, there's way too much stuff above my head on how to use all that stuff. And so people think, you just push a button and go. No, it's a little more complex than that.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little. I all joking aside, it is a bit more complex. It is and it's not. I mean, it depends on mostly your interest. Bottom line, because I mean, I know I've known you long enough to know that you're an extremely intelligent man, easily able to pick up the craft. Were you interested in it?
If you want to throw me a CNC, by God, I promise you, I will give it.
Wish I had an extra one to throw you. No, but because I mean the thing is, and CNC, and I gotta warn people that don't have one. CNC, like scroll sawing, if you buy a cheap one and I don't mean cheap as in money, I mean cheap as in quality. If you buy, and I'm not going to mention any names like Shapeoko or something like that.
You're just like me, no filter.
Yeah, there you go. But if you buy a bad scroll saw, you're going to get turned off to scroll sawing. If you buy a bad, and I've seen it, I've seen people buy an X-Carve or a Shapeoko and they go, oh yeah, because it's cheap and this way I can get into CNCing. Yeah, but you just bought a machine that is more problematic and more complicated than the easier machines.
Takes a fun out of it. And that's another thing where CNC and scroll saw overlap is once you quote unquote learn to use the tool, the rest of it's patience and appreciation and growing your own.
It's patience and it's creativity is all it is. Like any of our crafts. I mean the and again, I'll take this time to plug the Gatton CNC, which many of us, most of us in the panel and in the chat have. The CNC is probably the best bang for your buck plywood machine. And you go to my friend Dave's channel, davegatton.com, and you can see it there. He sells a kit, and it's that simple. It's you put together the mechanical part is very, very simple. It's an instruction. You buy the pieces. It's not a cheap. It's not just buying a drill or buying a $20 saw. It's a little bit more than that. You're running into $1,200 to $1,500 for the entire soup to nuts. But compared to a $4,000 or $5,000 entry level machine, all built, this is a far better choice. And for many of us who are makers, in fact, I'll go as far as to say there's many of us who only want to build the CNC because I've seen it with my own two eyes.
And the pride of building it.
You have the pride of building it, and maybe you'll do one project, but that's it. You put the machine away.
Well, I think building it, if you know how it works, you appreciate how it works. And
yeah,
I can't think of the rest of that sentence, so you take it over.
No, you actually do. You appreciate how it works. It's very simple. It's 3 axes, up, down, left, right, forward, backward, on rails. Everything's very, very simply laid out.
Stop saying how simple it is, though, because that makes me feel that much stupider for not knowing.
No. Wait, no, because I haven't gotten to the complicated part yet. That part is very simple. That part is very easy and well under your skill set, so you can easily do that. The electronics are a little bit more complicated, but then, well, I'll plug myself. The kit that I make, again, part of that $1,500, the kit that I make with the motors and everything, you can get a plug and play electronics kit where all you have to do, it's a CNC controller. You plug it into your computer through USB, you mount 4 motors, you're done. You're up and running with your machine.
Get your hobby bot today.
And get your hobby box today. Now comes the complicated part, which we have friends to make it less complicated. The complicated part is if you've never used a computer before and you've never done any design work, that's where a lot of people have issues. Because now I'll tell you what, Mark Lindsay and his channel, Mark Lindsay CNC, is fantastic at teaching people how can I put this? At a very easy kindergarten rate.
He doesn't make, and I want to compliment you too, Javi. Y'all both have a way of. Sorry for interrupting, by the way.
No, go ahead.
Better late than never.
Yeah.
A way of not making people feel stupid for not knowing something. Although I just teased you about that, but
I don't believe anybody's. I don't. I mean, it's very difficult for people. I don't believe in stupidity. I believe people.
I do. I've seen it.
Don't do.
Sorry.
I believe people don't do what they don't want to do, and that's and I can't call that stupidity because there's a little of that in everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody. I mean, heck, my mom was born with it, so. And I love my mom to death. Don't get me wrong. I love her to death, but she still refuses. She asks every week to learn how to text, and she refuses. That mind block in her head will not let her permanently, because she's not interested in it. She wants to learn for that split second of time, and then that's it. So anyway, I mean, it is what it is. But we all have our quirks. But I'll tell you, Mark Lindsay has a way of calmly and slowly, walking you through the basics. So, and with YouTube, all you need is honestly interest and patience. That's it. Something that a lot of us don't have. A lot of us don't have interest, and a lot of us don't have patience. Now, the thing is, they go hand in hand. Anything I'm interested in, I'll have the patience of a saint. If I'm interested in learning, how to build a I don't know.
That's another compliment for you and Mark, and I'm not buttering you up until I get my new CC from you. I'll give you my address, but I think God, I had such a good point, and I made a joke and screwed it all up. Don't give up on me. Oh, I cannot stand when somebody titles a video "How to such and such," and all they do is videotape them doing something. They don't explain. When I guess I'm tooting my own horn here, but when I title something "How to," I try to teach.
I'm not them how to exactly.
Because I
As it
mean, we
should
can
be.
look and learn all day, but looking and learning, you're assuming that you know what it means and how it works.
Yeah,
And thought
yeah,
process. So,
exactly, exactly. I mean, I have a different method of teaching than Mark, but I agree with you. How to should be instructing people how to do it, not just doing it. You know, I will. Mark will actually explain every single step. I will explain every step real quickly and do it, hoping that they'll stop and video. It's just a completely different pace. And you know me, I'm scatterbrained. I'm all over the place. But
yeah.
but where he is meticulous in order, sometimes But
Well,
again,
I guess the only difference is he gives you time to think about what he just said. Is that a good way to put it?
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. It's just different strokes for different folks. And Mark himself has said, I go, hey, what if I do the same? I told him a couple of times, what if I do a few teaching classes like you do? And he goes, have at it. I mean, because number one, we're friends. It's not competition or anything. If anything,
Exactly.
it's two different styles, and it actually makes the community better.
Yeah.
And he's said it numerous times, and that's a philosophy I completely agree with.
Well, the main example I have of teaching, I have. It sounds like I'm plugging. I kind of am, but it has a point. Woodvisions.com. I have I believe 5 or 6 downloadable videos of how to make a scroll saw pattern, and it'll be about a certain theme. But I'm not just drawing and babbling. I do tend to babble. That's an understatement. But anyway, I'm giving you every thought process I'm going through, why I'm changing my mind. If I do it all in real time, although it's recorded. That way nobody has to guess why I did what I did.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Scrolling through the comments here, Mike is saying this is better than TV. Can you scroll a billboard size with flat blades?
Nope.
Because no, you can't.
And Hobby, this is something all three of us. Yeah, all three of us may have neglected to talk about. That is one big difference between the flat blades and the spiral blades. A flat blade, you have to steer the piece like you would with a bandsaw.
Yeah.
On a spiral blade, you're steering like this, so you have much less turning radius.
Right. And whereas you also have a lot less control, and again, not from experience, just from listening and watching, you have a lot of straight control with a flat blade because the blade is actually helping you along. But with a spiral blade, you better have steady hands because that'll go any direction that
and that's funny because I don't know crap about flat blades other than a bandsaw. But yeah, I can't even control my own panel on my live streams, but I can control the spiral most of the time. But I enjoy the fact that I can't control my panel.
Wondering about turning a piece when needed, or is it only that way with spirals? Yeah. Turning the piece. Oh yeah. When you have to with flat blades, and I've used them again. So I cannot call myself in any way experienced, but I will say this: I've done it enough times to know that you basically think of a jigsaw, just smaller. With a flat blade, you have to nibble away until you have enough room for the actual blade, so you can turn it and then go in a different direction. If you're creating a corner, so you're actually, let's say this is, let me see, where's the corner of my screen? Here's the corner of my screen, and I'm trying to cut it, this way. I got to go nibble, 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 nibble until this whole triangle is nibbled, and then.
That was a perfect example. I mean, because
go this way.
I mean, I'm going to try to sound funny when I say it, the whole nibble, nibble, nibble thing. That's exactly what you're doing. You have to work your way into that corner, that spiral blade. You get into the corner. The closer you get to that corner, let the flex come out of the blade with a spiral, and then turn. And every now and then on my live streams, you will see me turn. If it's Josh commenting, I guarantee it's some kind of thing.
Yeah. He says you can't do CNC because it's on the rails, because there's literally rails in CNC, and Charles is always off the rails.
Oh yeah, and I take pride in that. Me and Josh get along like a married couple. I don't want to go any further with that, but every now and then I will turn a piece, even using a spiral, because for me it's a term I use called visual comfort, especially with a straight line. Straight line is the hardest thing to cut on a scroll saw, whether it's flat or spiral blade. But I like to cut certain things in certain directions, and that's why I'll turn my piece every now and then. The piece I'm working on right now is close to 4 feet tall, so I only have so many ways I can turn it. Back to you,
Yep.
Javi.
Well, and with that, I'm going to start to say our good nights because it is the 9 o'clock hour, and I don't do 4-hour shows. I try to keep this to a minimum in case there's anything else to talk about. I could leave it for another show.
There's nothing wrong with 4-hour shows. Just throwing it out there.
Nothing wrong with them at all and stuff. So, folks, I'm going to start to say my good night. So I thank you all for joining us here. 20 or 30 people at one time. That's a beautiful thing. And again, thank you all for coming. I'd like to thank our wonderful friend, here we go, Mr. Charles Deering of woodenvisions.com. That's woodenvisions.com. Go and buy some scroll saw patterns and scroll saw and subscribe. Scroll saw. That's good.
That's good.
Scroll saw / CNC patterns.
It's time for Hobbies, man. Y'all just appreciate you watching.
Yeah.
Sorry,
There you go. Just Diet Coke time. All right. So with that, I'll bid you all a wonderful evening, and I will see you. We will, or some of us will see you all next week for show and tell. So send your. I'll put my one last time. I'll put my email up there, and gmail.com. If I can spell it right, I can. I should have this stuff automated. And so send me automation. Nah, CNC guy wouldn't know anything about that. So send me your stories with your show and tell items, anything you've done, whether it's CNC or, again, this is Javi Unboxed. So if you built a cabinet that you're really proud of, by all means, I'd love to see it. You guys have a wonderful day. Yeah, I can't pronounce it. Neither can I. Unzueta. Anyway. Or is that scroll slaw?
Well, the majority of your audience being CNC, I appreciate y'all sitting through this because I know scroll sawing isn't for everybody, but you're here, you support hobby. Maybe you want to check out scroll sawing. So I appreciate y'all taking the time out to be here.
And have a wonderful day, everyone. Have a wonderful week. See you all soon.
See you later, folks.